From sea to shining sea, America's favorite uncle, Bumpkin Bob.
Hey y'all, this is Bumpkin Bob coming to you from the Bumpkin Media Studios here in Siloam Springs, Arkansas. And it has been raining all week here. I'm sure it's raining wherever you are if you're in Arkansas. I think maybe tomorrow, if it clears up, we're going to start building the ark. Because I swear I saw animals lining up 2 by 2 down here this morning. Uh, Getting some localized flooding, so please be careful. We talk about this a lot on the Bumpkin Bob Show, more than probably what we should have to. But people, please, that old saying about turn around, don't drown, or however it is, don't cross a flooded road or a flooded bridge. It's not worth it. Just turn around, go another direction, go get you a hotel room, or go stay with a friend. It's not worth it. Don't put your life or somebody else's life in danger by trying to cross that. That swift water will win every time. So let's just keep that in mind as we go through the spring of the year. To get started today, because we have a lot to talk about, we're going to start off talking a little bit about the Arkansas Razorbacks, kind of get everybody caught up for the month. Baseball season started last weekend as of filming this. The baseball team swept Bucknell pretty badly in their second game. I swear I thought there was a rule to stop that, but I guess there ain't. I think they ran it up 32 to something. Is ridiculous. They beat Arizona this week, but they did lose to Poly Cal today. Not a big deal. They're still 4-1, so they're on a West Coast swing out there in San Diego having a little tournament, and I think they might play again this afternoon, and then I know they play Sunday. So be watching that. Keep up with the baseball team. And I'm telling y'all, the baseball team is deep this year. They got great pitching. They got a deep roster. The way the coach talked, it's the best roster he's had so far. There are some young guys on there, but they can play baseball. There are some places that are picking this team to win the national championship. Great. They're just great. So just if you get a chance, go out and watch the Razorback baseball team. Basketball, on the other hand, has really hit a downhill slide. They play this afternoon. They play Alabama. Man, and they've got Alabama, Missouri, and Auburn left, with Alabama and Missouri being on the road and Auburn being at home. And man, the experts say if they win one of these, they're probably in the NCAA tournament. But I think they need to win one or two of these and one game in the SEC tournament. Man, I don't know that they're going to sneak in this year or not. Something I did hear, about their guard play, it's like Bo said, there ought to be some kind of award for those guards, because basically the other teams are, and I don't want to take nothing away from Gafford, but the other teams are basically coming in here with a defensive set up to stop two people, and those guys are still scoring 20 points apiece each. And it's like, man, if they could get another starter to be able to really step up, or somebody off the bench, they'd be unstoppable, really and truly. Moving on from them, and of course, I'm going to hit on this real quick. The track team is down in College Station at the SEC tournament. And, I mean, what else can you say? The men's and women are both predicted to finish high in the NCAA stuff. So they're doing the indoor right now. It's like their track is always top notch. Always. Other news we're going to talk about just a little bit. Spring football practice starts March 1st. So this is going to really be everybody's chance to see Chad Morris, kind of his philosophy, see how he works those guys on the practice field, maybe know a little bit more. The one thing I wanted to talk about on that is heard a lot of rumblings from some people because they've moved the spring game to War Memorial. And they're pissed off about it. Well, here's the deal, people. It's like they're doing that, I feel like, so that construction on that north end zone doesn't have to stop for that Saturday or that weekend. It's like you want that north end zone finished by the opening of the 2018 season. They need that weekend. So I think personally, everybody's like, oh, they're bowing to the Little Rock people. No, they're not. They're trying to help the construction company get that north end zone finished by not stopping construction for that weekend. So calm down, and it's going to be all right. Your spring game will probably be back here next year because the stadium will be finished. There won't be whatever it was, $90 million construction project going on. Thanks, Jeff Long. Had to get that little cut in. And the other thing, while we're talking about it, and I'm going to bring it up, I'm going to keep bringing it up. Chad Morris and the new AD are trying to bring Arkansas together. I mean, they're reaching as far away from Washington County in Arkansas. I would say probably the southeastern corner is as far away from here as you can get. They're reaching all the way across this state, trying to bring the state together. So you people, and I use that word loosely, that think that this university and the Razorback team belongs strictly to Benton and Washington County need to get over yourself. They not only need, but they want the support of the whole state, so let it go. It's not about you, it's about the whole state. Now then, now that we've covered your beloved Arkansas Razorbacks for this time, we are going to show you a special segment, and it's the first part of a 4-part series that we're going to be doing called A Journey Down the White. Hey y'all, this is Bumpkin Bob coming to you from the shores of Beaver Lake as we start our 4-part series on the journey down the White. Now we're filming here today at Montanay, which is just outside of Rogers. And the White River starts a little bit south of us in the Boston Mountains. There's so much to do in this area, it is not even funny. We're gonna try to give you all a little information about the White River, about Beaver Lake and the other lakes on this river system, as well as some of the recreational stuff that you can do here, plus show you some great footage from along this whole system. Now the White River covers approximately 720 plus miles through the state of Arkansas and Missouri. It empties, like I said, it starts here in the Boston Mountains on the western side of the state, goes kind of northeast in the flow, and then starts more of a southeast flow on the eastern side of the state where it empties into the Mississippi. Now it's got several main tributaries. The upper part of the White is the tributaries would be, of course, the North Fork River, Buffalo National River, and the Little Red. And then the lower end of the White, the major tributaries are the Black River and the Cache River. Now, as we further journey towards the eastern side of the state, we'll get some shots also of barge traffic on the White River. Now, if you go here on this side, especially when you get down around West Fork, the White River is not much more than a creek, just a little rocky creek. And a little story about this: when we first moved to this area, the Corps of Engineers, I guess, is who takes care of that. A news story came out that they were going to be dredging the White River, start back dredging the White River for barge traffic. Well, the local news here in Fayetteville had set up a camera crew down at West Fork, and I swear, I mean, I got arthritis in my feet, and I think I could jump the White River at West Fork. It's not that wide, and it's really not that deep. You know, it's just a rocky bottom creek over here. But that little old gal was doing her news report, and she was like, Corps of Engineers is going to start dredging the White River for barge traffic. And I'm like, you're on the wrong end of the river, darling. You need to be all the way to the other side of the state. But that was my little funny story about the White River. Now, as we go on, we'll give you more information about different things. But to kind of get started, there's 3 major dams on the White River, and then 2 on major tributaries that are all flood control and hydroelectric dams. Now, they talked about as early as like 1901, 1902 about damming up some of this river, but it didn't actually take place until the 1960s. It all really got started though in the 1930s. Congress passed an act for flood control in this area because they'd had several devastating floods. So in 1960, Beaver Dam was started around 1960 and was finished in 64. And I believe it cost like a little over $40 million, which in today's money for projects like that, that's nothing. But you know, in 1964 or whatever, that was pretty big. The dam was actually finished in 66. And then the lake itself didn't reach full pull until 68 or 69. If you come out here, and this is all along the White River, all the lakes, there is a lot of recreational stuff. We're out here filming this morning, and it is cold. The wind's coming across this lake. But we've already seen kayakers. We've got people out here fishing. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's snowing, there's people out here fishing. One thing the White River, especially on this end, is known for is white bass. Here in the spring, the white bass will start spawning, and over around Highway 16, kind of southeast of Fayetteville in that area, there's a place called Twin Bridges, and it crosses the White River and a little creek that's a tributary to the White River. And when the white bass start running out of this lake up the headwaters of the White River spawning, it gets crazy. There'll be people packed in there elbow to elbow catching white bass. And if you like white bass, it's a good thing to do because the daily limit is 25. I mean, you can keep a lot of fish. That being said, as we get on down like below Beaver Dam, below Table Rock Dam, you're going to get into a lot of trout fishing. I mean, the Corps of Engineers even has hatcheries along this river for the trout fishing. And you're really going to get into that if you want to look at the tributaries. Greer's Ferry Lake and the Little Red River below Greer's Ferry Dam is big trout fishing. I mean, and these rivers have produced world record brown trout. It is crazy that, because I don't think, me personally, that a lot of people in the United States, when they think of trout fishing, that they think Arkansas. I mean, they usually think the upper Northwest and, you know, just some places like that. You'll see these big spanses in Montana and these big rivers and people fishing for trout, but Arkansas is probably one of the best places to come. Arkansas and the lower part of Missouri for trout fishing. But like I said, there is so much to do in this area. It is crazy. Now we're going to be giving y'all a lot of shots of the lake, a lot of shots of White River. And if you have a chance to visit any of these places, you need to come visit these. And I bet if old Harvey was alive today and had built his resort today instead of 100 years ago when he built it here in Montanay, it probably would have made money, because now he's got the lake here. Of course, he'd have had to, I don't know if you can see behind me, part of the amphitheater sticking out of the water. So he probably would have had to move that someplace else. That's not a very good place don't think for an amphitheater in the lake. Of course, that could be, you know, everybody in their swimsuits and serve them a beer down there while they're listening to music. I'm not sure how the amplifiers and shit would do in the water, but you know, maybe that's something some of these smart people could address. But again, this is just crazy the amount of recreation there is on this lake. There's a lot of houses built around this lake and the White River in general. But again, join us for this 4-part series. Just some other things. We're going to go visit the swinging bridge at Beaver and try to visit some of the dams and really show you this whole river. The 4th part, either the 3rd or 4th part of this series, we're going to be on the eastern side of the state, get some footage over there and show y'all some barge traffic. That is pretty cool to watch. If you've never seen those, it's just amazing to know that those things are floating in an 8-foot deep channel. You'd think the river would have to be a lot deeper than that, but that's all they really need to float those things up and down the river. Again, if you get a chance, Beaver Lake, there are plenty of public accesses on the White River. So if you're living in Arkansas and you want to go fishing, boating, camping, this is the area to be in, all the way across this part of the state. So for now, we're going to sign out and leave you with a bunch of footage of the White River and Beaver Lake. We're standing here on the shores of the White River, and behind me is a low water crossing, which is representative of probably 1,000 of these in the state of Arkansas across every little river or creek there is. Here in probably about 4 months, this area will probably be covered up with people swimming and wading, because we're filming at the end of February and it's still pretty cold. But this is typical of the rivers in Arkansas. We're just outside of Patrick off of Highway 16, fairly close to the actual start of this river, the White River. Supposedly it starts in a little farm pond down here in Madison County. But anyway, this is the kind of thing that you're going to see all over the state of Arkansas. And another thing that's good with these little rivers, they're pretty shallow when you get on this upper end. You know, this summer, grab you a 6-pack of beer and a cooler and your fishing pole and go wade fishing. This is the best spots to do that kind of stuff. Catch these little rock bass along here. And that's another thing we need to talk about, is the whole White River system all the way to the eastern Arkansas is home to many species of fish. We got crappie, bass, catfish. I know Beaver Lake's even got walleye in it. So if you get a chance to spend some time on this river or one of its lakes, grab your fishing pole. You won't regret it. Hey y'all, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that first part of the journey down the White. We really enjoyed shooting that. Stay tuned the next 3 episodes. We're going to get over all the way to the eastern side of the state. We really want to take y'all along with us to show you that. Again, hit us up on Twitter at the Bumpkin Bob Show and let us know what you think about that, and on Facebook. And make sure you go over to bumpkinbob.com and join. Really want to know what you think about this series. Now then, let's get on to Bumpkin Bob, to my favorite subject. I have had a really shitty week. I'm just going to tell it like it is. And it's like, I'm fixing to go off on some rants. I've really actually been ranting all afternoon to my producer, and I think all y'all know who he is. But it's time that I share this rant with all of y'all, and I'm going to try to keep it precise, but I may wander off a few places. As we say, chasing rabbits, and rabbits meat, so here we go. They decided, I don't know exactly how to set this up, so we're going to get into it, And I'm going to ask for some feedback specifically from electricians and our other general contractors. But to set this whole thing up, here in this part of the state since January 1, we've had like less than an inch total rain. We've just had spotty showers here and there, nothing that bad. Maybe a little more than that, but not much more than that. So hence you wait till this week, and on Tuesday they informed us that the concrete subcontractor was going to start drilling the pole bases. Now, so sometimes I refer to them as pole standards. Some people refer to them as pole bases. So depending on how upset I get, you'll know what I'm talking about. Whichever one I use, I'm talking about the same thing. But it's like, okay, you wait until Tuesday and you're going to start drilling these things Wednesday morning. We've had, up to that point, almost 5 inches of rain since Saturday. It's muddier than shit. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It's muddier than a South Arkansas river bottom. I mean, it's ridiculous muddy. And then we've gotten rain every day this week. It's like, basically, I told the guys and by the way, we're down a man right now because he had gallbladder surgery. But I told the guys, I said, we're gonna be getting nasty and muddy. We're just gonna work through lunch every day and leave an hour early, because you ain't gonna want to go any place and eat after you're that nasty and muddy. And that's exactly what we got. And by the time you get to Friday, you've got my boss is upset because he wants us to do it the way we've always done it. The general superintendent, the general contractor's job superintendent's upset because it's taking so long. And the concrete guy's upset because it's taking so long because he's wanting to pour the pole bases. So the way we've always done them is, and it never fails. This is every job. We get there, they spot the location of the pole bases, and we ask for them to be drilled. Let's go ahead and drill them, pour them, stub conduits out of them, because here's the deal to all you concrete guys out there that run in and just want to drill them and pour them. A pole base with no electrical conduit in it is just a chunk of concrete. It's not worth a shit for nothing. So you got to slow down and quit taking that mindset that you're just running in there, drilling a hole, throwing some rebar and a sonotube in there and pouring some concrete. Has to have conduits in it or it ain't no good or no use to nobody. But it never gets done. So we come in, trench our pipes. We try to stop, 12, 18 inches from those pole base marks, so that when they drill it with a 24-inch auger, it doesn't tear our conduits out of the ground. But they drill them. We dig down and find our conduits, stub them into the sonotubes, up into the center, get our ground rods taken care of. What we usually do is we stub a pipe out just strictly for the ground and then drive a ground rod, and we get all that taken care of. Well, it takes time. And now with the added deal that it's muddy, it's just, it is a total mess. So I ended up at one point, I said something to the superintendent about, we should have just done it all at first at the job. And he's like, well, I don't like pouring the pole bases till close to the end of the job because they get damaged. Okay, it's a big chunk of concrete, but he's worried that a backhoe driver or the dozer driver for the dirt guys might run into it. And my deal is, well, if they run into it, then they pay to fix it. That's the way everything works in this world. And it's like, if you can't see that 24-inch is usually what they are, diameter, sticking 2 or 3 foot up out of the ground, then you probably don't need to be driving that piece of equipment anyway. But he's like, that's why he don't want to do it. And then the next day, he comes over because here again, some of the pole bases got spotted in the wrong place, or I don't know. We trenched in one place and they drilled them in another. And that's what happens when you spot the general contractor as a surveyor come spot them 2 different times. But I just asked him, I said, I've only worked for one electrical contractor. I'm not one of these guys that has bounced from contractor to contractor, for a buck in a truck is how the old saying goes. And I said, this is the way we've always done them. How does everybody else do them? Well, usually they pour them and then dig to them. I'm like, okay, after the curbs are poured like they did here, because they went through and did the curbs first, which I don't understand. They always do that. It's caused problems with doing the pole standards, pole bases. No, they always do that first before the curbs. I said, well, that wouldn't have worked here because they did the curbs first, which they seem to do on every job I've been on. And then he makes the $1 million statement. I should have just went ahead and did them when we spotted them the first time. And it's like, fuck yeah, you should have. And then we wouldn't be out here. Because here's the deal. We tell them every time. I tell them, my boss tells them. It's like, at the start, because we're a small contractor, so we usually do one good sized job at a time. We don't have 3 or 4 projects going. It's like at the start of the job, when the slab's poured and we're waiting on the steel to go up and walls to actually start being built, let's do the pole bases and get that done and out of the way. They always, no, I don't want to get them damaged or blah, blah, blah. They always got an excuse. And I always tell them, okay, at the end of the job, when I need to be in the building doing stuff, you're going to have me out there fucking with the pole bases. And it happens every time. And it's like, there's always the deal in everybody's contract to coordinate with each other. It's like, I'm trying to coordinate and nobody's cooperating. It's like, I'm always wrong and they're always right till the end of the job. And it's like, yeah, Bob, you're right. I need you inside working. And instead, I got you out here fucking with these damn pole bases. I'm probably using the F word a lot because I'm getting a little fed up with this shit. But it's like, any of you electrical guys out there, general contractors, it's like, give me some feedback. What are we doing wrong? And I'll be honest with you, the worst thing on a commercial job for me is the pole bases. I literally dread it every time. It's just, if it ain't a bitch getting them put in and getting your conduits in, it's somebody digging through your conduits every time you turn around. It's like, I almost dread during the whole job, I'll look down the hallway and see one of the dirt guys coming, or the plumber's coming, or the sprinkler guys coming down the hallway, and you can just tell they're going, dude, I was putting in a sprinkler line and I dug through your conduit. Of course you fucking did. And it's like with every one of them, you can go out there and tell them, dude, if you'll stand at every one of these pole bases and look at the next pole base, and at that pole base, there's a conduit that runs between every one of them. It's about 24 inches deep. It's right there. At least try to miss it. Sometimes I almost think they try to dig them up. And it's just, I don't know, it's just an irritation, a burn in my saddle, I don't know. It just pisses me off every time. And again, if somebody knows a better way to do it, I'm all for it. And on top of that, if there's an electrical contractor out there that specializes in pole bases, that will say, hey, your next project, I'll give you a price during bid day, and I'll come in, drill them, pour them, run the conduit, pull the wire, and stand the damn poles, the pole lights. I'd like to have that price, because to tell you the truth, I'd like to be not having nothing to do with the fuckers myself, unless that's all I'm doing. It's like, I've been talking the last couple of days to people. It's like, Need to start my own business just doing damn parking lot lights for people on their in these job sites. So that, you're doing them before the curbs, and if somebody knows where I can get a Mini X, a skid loader with an auger attachment and a damn little bucket truck pretty cheap, let me know, because I might be interested. Hell, to me, that sounds like a good gig right there. If I could get 50, 55 of these buildings, I think I could do one a week. Like, shit, hell, we'll just make some money. The only good part about this whole thing that happened, and a lot of y'all are going to hate me for this, because there is animosity and hatred between trades. But on a Wednesday morning, they start drilling the pole bases, and they're drilling 6 foot deep, is what the engineers spec these things to be. And I walked to the front of the building faces east. And our Connex's storage trailers for the electricians are parked all the way out on the east side by the road, off actually almost in the utility easement. So it's not part of the parking lot or anything like that. Well, I walked out there to start putting our stuff in the Connex, because it's 2:30, 3 o'clock. And there's a locate guy out there, and I just thought it was one call or something, but I started bullshitting with him, and he started asking me who'd been digging and this and that. Well, come find out he was with AT&T, and the concrete guys actually drilled through a fiber optics cable, and then on top of that, they didn't call one call. They just drilled them. And it's like, yep, that's going to be a big fucking charge. The Thursday, the superintendent came over to me, and I'm down beside one of the pole bases where we're digging, trying to find our conduits. And part of the problem with it this time is we trenched them in so long ago, and then the dirt guys, because they had it to rough grade, have came in and added 12, 18 inches of red dirt. So instead of being 18 inches under the red dirt, we're almost 3 foot on some of them. And it was a pain in the ass to find. But anyway, the superintendent came over, and he stood there for a minute, and he said, because I don't know if the general contractor is going to pay this bill or if the concrete guy is going to pay the bill. If we done it as the electrical contractor, we'd have to pay it. So I'm thinking the concrete guy is going to have to pay it. We'll just have to wait and see how that washes out. But the general superintendent was like, well, you think that's going to be $10,000? I said, I have no idea. I said, the last one we cut by accident, and we had called one call, it wasn't a fiber optics cable, and it cost us $5,000. So, or our insurance. So I don't know what cutting a fiber optics is going to do, especially with the fact that where they cut that fiber optics cable feeds Champions Golf Course and the Pinnacle, all them big houses up there at Pinnacle. And it's like, man, they were out of cable and internet or whatever, or AT&T, I guess, phone service and internet, from Thursday morning until sometime Friday morning. So I'm sure all those people calling and screaming at AT&T, AT&T's going to hit them with a pretty good sized chunk of money, I think. I don't know. But to kind of recap my rant is like, if anybody can tell me a better way to do pole bases, I am open to suggestions. I mean, we go through this every time. I am sick of it. I mean, literally sick of it. It's pole bases, and fixing the conduits between pole bases is like my greatest, I don't know, fear, I don't know. It's my pet peeve, I guess. I'm not sure if that's a good way to say it or not. Just pisses me off. I don't know if y'all can tell that or not. And it's like, I've bitched about it so much today, I'm already losing my voice. We hadn't even done the hour show yet complete, and I'm already losing my voice. So, anyway, I guess I need to quit bitching about that. I might find something else to bitch about. I don't know. We'll just have to stick with that. I got two other things I really want to talk about, and I'm not sure which one I want to do first and which one I want to do second. We'll flip the coin. Ching! I am not today, next month, or the month after going to discuss specific opinions on certain things until, I don't know, me and my producer have had more discussions on it. I did want to throw out a hypothetical situation today, and it's because I don't think nobody's thought this far ahead. I don't think they have. I really and truly, once you hear this and let me get through it, I would like to hear from especially police officers and military personnel. And because this, in my mind, this is the way it's going to go, and this is what's going to happen. And I'm just curious, and I think we need to open this dialogue up, and it needs to be talked about. It needs to be talked about openly. But hypothetically, we're just going through some stuff. Nobody get mad at me. Hypothetically, let's say Congress, U.S. Senate, and the president, whoever it might be, and honestly, this won't happen in 2018. I mean, I'm thinking earliest, nothing's early in Washington, D.C. So I don't know really what kind of time frame we're looking at, whether it's 2020, 2025, 2030. I mean, I don't know, but let's just say hypothetically, Congress, the Senate, and the president pass and sign some type of gun control. And let's say hypothetically that it's assault rifles. They ban assault rifles and our handguns, because those are the two that everybody's talking about. Okay, they do this and they sign it into bill, sign it into law. The president signs it today. So today, everybody that owns that particular handgun or assault rifle is legal, but when you wake up in the morning, you're a criminal. I mean, or you're illegally in possession of that firearm. So they're going to expect you to turn that firearm in. I don't think nobody is, or very few, because people are very strong about their Second Amendment rights. Me as well. Go Jan Morgan, by the way. Throw that out there. So now, all gun owners who have purchased those weapons legally, there's a paper trail for them. So then, Department of Justice, do they pass that to the FBI, and then the FBI passes it on to the states? And does the enforcement of that law keep getting pushed down till it gets to local law enforcement? So your local police department at ABC City, we'll just call it ABC, we won't use a specific city, sends officer so-and-so out to somebody's house to collect their firearms or arrest them, because now they're illegally in possession of this firearm and they didn't turn it in. Well, as soon as he pulls in the driveway, that person's going to know why he's there. And that person, number one, the officer is somebody's son. He's probably somebody's husband or somebody's daughter. That officer can be female. They're a son or a daughter. They're a husband or a wife. They're a mother or a father themselves. They have aunts and uncles. They have family. The person they're calling on may even be a family member. I mean, if you're a law enforcement agent and your dad is now in possession of a AR-15, some law enforcement agent, officer, whether it's you or somebody else like you, is going to have to show up to disarm him and or arrest him. Well, the person that you're showing up is a father or a mother or a brother or a sister just like you. All of us have families. And it's like, you have to be aware that a lot of these people you're going to be showing up to disarm are not going to disarm easily. They're probably going to be pointing that weapon at you. So it's like, are you prepared to be shot and or shoot somebody to disarm them? Because now the federal government's passed this law and they've pushed it all the way down to the local PD departments. So it's like, are you prepared as a police officer to disarm your own father or mother? Or to disarm your own. You may have, police officers, you may be an older police officer and have children that are in possession of these firearms that you're going to have to disarm. And it's like, me personally, I could see where this could end in catastrophe, in like a bloodbath. But then it goes further, because now, say, police chief of town ABC says, we're not doing it. I'm not putting my officers in that position to disarm my citizens who I'm sworn to protect. So then what happens? Does the governor call up, because the next in line is either going to be the state police or the National Guard. So is he going to call up a National Guard unit to come to town ABC and disarm its citizens? These people that are coming in, now you've been called up to the National Guard. You're a brother, sister, mother, father, and say you're even out of this town. So you've got friends and family in this town that now the governor's asking you to disarm. And you're going in there locked and loaded to disarm and or arrest these people. Which to me now, you've set the National Guard against its own, against your own citizens. Now we're almost in martial law. Well, the commander of the National Guard unit says, I'm not doing it. So, then do they call in active military, a squadron of Marines or company of Marines, whatever, or Army, regular Army, Special Forces, whatever, and these guys are now coming in and they're being asked to disarm the citizens. Well, now we're right into what the Second Amendment is written for. The Second Amendment is written so that your citizens are armed with the same weapons that your military are, to keep the military from doing this exact same thing. So, has anybody that's yelling for gun control actually thought this out? And, do you actually want that that's where it's going to end? Is that, I don't know how to say it exactly right. But that's the road you're going to go down when you start doing gun control, and you're going to make these weapons illegal to have. Is, you're saying today that everybody that owns that particular weapon is legal. As soon as the law signs and goes into effect, they're a criminal. They're not in compliance with a law that's on the books. And it's like, now you're going to send local PD or state police or the FBI or heaven forbid, our nation's own military or National Guard in to disarm these people. That's because when you get them involved in it, and the local PD too, that's exactly what the Second Amendment is written for. And I hope somebody has thought that through. And to tell you the truth, Uh, and I don't know that we can make this happen. I would love to be able to get either a police officer or a sheriff's deputy and somebody that's either in the National Guard or reserves in here to have this discussion right here in front of the camera. It's like, because I don't think, I mean, those men and women that wear the badge or wear the uniform of our servicemen and women, they're there to serve and protect us. I mean, as citizens. And I don't know that Congress, and I say that, I don't know, the House and the Senate, I guess Congress is both of them, the House and the Senate. The House and the Senate and the president can turn them against the people that they are sworn to protect. I mean, I see images of, and not RoboCop, but that whole planet, the way, police state like that was happening. And that's not good, people. It's just not good. I mean, I think this needs to be open for discussion. We need to have more discussions about this. Because even if, I don't know, 1 out of 10 doesn't disarm, not, 1 out of 10 disarms violently or won't disarm, I don't know how to say that exactly, it's not going to be pretty. I mean, I don't want the loss, I don't want life lost of our police officers and military people. I don't want civilian life lost. And, and I definitely do not want a society where our government has turned our military and police against its citizens. That is like the worst thing in the world. I mean, that, to me, that's like Armageddon. I find that whole concept to be very disturbing and to be very much a reality that we could go down. And that's a bad rabbit hole, people. It really is. There's no coming back from that, I don't think. I mean, so I really hope, and not just, I don't want to just have that discussion with a police officer and a reservist or a National Guard. I'd like to have that with one of my local congressmen and or my senator, my U.S. senator I'm talking about, because it's like, I think we have to think about the rabbit hole we're going to go down when we do that. And that scares me to death. Again, hit me up over there at the Bumpkin Bob Army. We'll have this discussion. I'll talk about it with anybody. It scares me to death. I'll be honest with you. It really does. But, I want to get that dialogue open. So if you have any comments, please be nice, be respectful. Don't go blowing off and, acting crazy. Just be respectful and give me those comments. I want to hear them. And if we get any, I will read them on the air for damn sure. The last thing I want to talk about, I think we have time. I'm not sure where our time's running. And it's really something that it's like I heard this news story this morning and it just blew. Oh, I got one other thing to say about the other thing, because we had this discussion too, because all this stuff going on, they showed a news story on the national news this morning over at Britain where they made all handguns illegal and all semi-automatic weapons illegal. The only hunting rifles or shotguns you can have to be mechanically operated. And boy, I'm going to take some hits for this. And it's like, the reason that went over in Britain is because all that's left over there is pussies. I'm waiting to see if my son's going to explode. Everybody in like Ireland, Scotland, England, all of Europe that had any ass and backbone came to the U.S., like from the 1500s, whenever that first started, 1492, from the 1500s on up through the 1900s. And it's like the only thing that got left over there was the weak. The people that are in the U.S. that are of European descent are like descended of the strongest people in the European area, because they all came over here and just left the weak ones over there. So they were easy to disarm. It's not going to be that easy here. That's all I'm saying. And I don't even want to have the Australian talk, because all of those people that was a penal colony. It was a prison. That's what it was. I mean, the Aborigines are native to Australia, but the white people are down there were prisoners from Europe. They were the lowest of the low. They got sent down there. So those are y'all's ancestors, and y'all probably don't need any firearms. So that's a whole nother discussion that we don't even want to get into. Okay, I had to get that off my chest. I thought about that today, and I thought, man, that's a good one right there. I might as well just piss everybody off in Britain while I'm at it. United Kingdom. Y'all ain't united for shit. The other thing I wanted to talk about is get back to some local stuff here that's going on in our area right now. And again, people are going to say, well, you're just wanting to bash Obamacare. And it's like, yeah, I really do. But I heard this story this morning, and I was just like, oh my God, it's just another aspect of that whole toboggle, whatever it is. But apparently they use a prescription management negotiator or something's what they call it, to negotiate prescription payouts from like Blue Cross Blue Shield to the pharmacy. So you go into a pharmacy, your prescription costs X amount, you pay your copay, and then this person decides how much the Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to reimburse the pharmacy for your prescription, for the rest of that prescription. So let's say your copay is $20 and that prescription actually cost the pharmacy $80, say cost, then, if this management group comes in and says, well, Blue Cross should only have to reimburse you $60 of that, then you're just getting costs, because you got the $20 copay, the $60 they reimburse, you're just at cost. So if they're below $60, you're actually losing money on that prescription. Well, come to find out, CVS Pharmacy has a division called CVS Prescription Management, and they were dealing with Blue Cross as that bridge, the person in between them and the pharmacy. And apparently what they were doing is like on that $80 prescription, they were saying, well, Blue Cross owes CVS $80, so with the $20 copay and the $80, they're actually making a profit on it. But the smaller independent-owned pharmacies, they were saying, well, they only owe them $40, so they're actually losing $20 on these prescriptions. That's the way I understood it. The bad part about that whole thing is then after those small independently owned pharmacies started getting into financial trouble, CVS would step in and say, hey, we'll buy you out, and put CVS on the door and buy your pharmacy. So they've kind of got their butt in a crack over that, and I hope they hang their fucking ass. That's just the way it is. It's somebody else double dipping and dealing down, and that's what's making all our insurance go up. I mean, it's CVS, as a pharmacy, got greedy and found a way to play the insurance game by being that middle person It's just another step in the bullshit that we have to put up with from our federal government. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I hope the federal government steps in and nips this in the bud if they can, whether it's, I don't know who's investigating this. I know the Attorney General in Arkansas is. I don't know if the feds are looking at it. They probably should be, because CVS is not just in Arkansas. So I don't know where else they're doing this little management thing that they're doing, but they need to be looking at that also. The last thing I am going to say today is I personally didn't watch it because I don't keep up with that sport. But if you, I know everybody, whether on YouTube or the national news, has seen Fergie's rendition of the national anthem. She ought to be deported for it. I honestly think that there was people in the stands laughing at her. The basketball players were laughing at her, and it's just like, and even liberal old Jimmy Kimball, they showed him in the crowd grinning about it, laughing at her, because it was horrendous. If she did it as a joke, then shame on her. And if she really thought she was doing something by trying to jazz up the national anthem, then it's still awful. Bottom line, she should be deported. That's just how it is. You know, it's bottom line, deport her. Now, just to be honest with y'all, for this month's show, I've probably talked about as much as I could talk. We didn't do a job site tale, but I will try to think of one and maybe get it on the podcast this week or next week. Just be watching for that. Again, make sure you hit us up and watch our podcast. They're on iTunes. As my producer says, anywhere you can listen to a podcast, we're on there. So go over there and listen to those podcasts. Make sure you go join us at bumpkinbob.com. Hit us up on Twitter. We want to hear from all of y'all. Again, go over to Facebook and join the Bumpkin Bob Army. I mean, we're trying to put an army together, and we'll get old Jan Morgan elected because she's all for the Second Amendment, and that's what I'm all about. So till next month, this is the Bumpkin Bob, and I am out.